Hello and welcome to the On the Couch podcast, the podcast that gives you the view from the therapist chair. I'm your host, John Dennis, a licensed professional counselor. You're listening to OTC episode 27 with Lori Brees and Christy Smith of United Disability Services Foundation. Hello again, OTC listeners. Welcome back for another episode. Thank you for joining us as always. Today's episode, I'm going to be sharing a conversation that I had with Lori Brees and Christy Smith, who both work in the service dog programs with United Disability Services Foundation. UDS is a nonprofit organization based here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and they are committed to helping people with disabilities, including veterans and the elderly, to lead more independent and fulfilling lives. So they do that through a number of different services and programs within the community, including accessible home modifications, care management, custom wheelchair seating, and the Service Dogs program. And so, like I mentioned today, we're going to be focusing on the Service Dogs programs. The UDS Service Dogs program actually became accredited by Assistance Dogs International, which is one of the main accrediting bodies for assistance dogs. And from their website, which is assistancedogsinternational.org, they talk about the 2018 statistics for total assistant dog placements. They cite 16,766 dogs. So about 48% of those were guide dogs, 6% of them hearing dogs, and then 46% of them were service dogs. And from their 2018 census, out of the service dog types, about 48% of those were mobility service dogs, 19% were PTSD veterans service dogs, another 23% were autism service dogs, 4% diabetic alert service dogs, 2.5% seizure service dogs, 1.5% were psychiatric service dogs, and then around 1% were medical alert service dogs. Part of the reason that I wanted to put this episode together and sit down to talk with Lori and Christy is that I'll be out in the community. I've gone to different hockey games at like the Hershey Bears at the Giant Center, and a lot of times they'll have a table or a booth for the UDS dogs, and it's usually this huge attraction. You know, everybody, well, almost everybody, but all the people that matter love animals, and people are just naturally drawn to them. And there's obviously a lot of research around animals improving our quality of life, our longevity, emotional support, and helping with anxiety and depression, things from, like equine therapy and pet therapy and things like that. Obviously, the emotional support animals have come on pretty huge in the last couple of years. And so I wanted to just unpack, what goes into getting a service dog, training a service dog. There's so much that we don't get to see. Usually you see a dog that, they have a vest on and it says, hey, I'm working. Please don't pet me. I'm helping someone. And they're with an individual who has some type of disability. And but like I said, a lot of times we just don't know what goes into that. So I really wanted to talk with them. If you get a chance to schedule a visit for the UDS facility, it's this beautiful new facility. I would highly recommend going and checking it out. And just the work that they're doing there is so amazing. I mean, they're touching just so many lives and helping so many people. It's just such a heartwarming and amazing place. So I highly recommend that. But I also wanted to share a little bit of the Service Dogs program and some of the huge impact that they're making in people's lives.
Gabs, get the door. Good girl. Thank you.
My service dog, Campbell, is an incredible tool. He helps me with many different things. He can pick things up for me. He grabs things from me. He's really great with getting the phone and getting the remote.
The Service Dog program is one that, interestingly enough, we knew that people could benefit by having a service dog in the way of daily living. These dogs are very well trained. They go through well over 2 years of training. We have a tremendous group of volunteers that helps us with this program.
Once a week we have the dogs come together and play and spend time with each other so that they can get along with other dogs.
We were excited about Service Dogs for the name that they would actually perform services for people. But what we didn't realize at first was the social aspects and the wonderful companion aspects.
This is Gabby Rose. Gabby Rose is Melissa's service dog. She's been with us for approximately 3 years. She can take Melissa's socks off. She picks things up. She pushes the button to open the door, and then when we go through, we say, Gabby, door, and then she closes the door, on the other side. But the best thing is that she is a door opener for people to come up and talk to Melissa. Then they'll talk to Melissa where ordinarily they would not.
I have spastic quadriplegia. He knew I was spazzing really bad. I was going to try to transfer by myself from my manual into my power chair. And he knew I was spazzing, so he jumped up, put his paws on me, pushed me in my chair, and barked. He was barking for help. And somebody came running as if to say, Mom's doing something she's not supposed to do. He's a great, great boy.
So I'm here with some of the ladies from United Disability Services, talking with them about their service dogs and the different programs that they offer. So I'm here with Lori and Christy. Welcome to the On the Couch podcast. Thank you guys so much for being able to be on.
Hi, John. This is Lori, and we're happy to be here.
Hi. Thanks for having us, too.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much for carving out the time. So just tell me a little bit about yourselves, about UDS. What is it? What programs do you have?
Well, UDS is actually a nonprofit. It's been in business for 53 years. It offers 13 programs and services that help people with disabilities and the elderly to remain in their homes versus being institutionalized. And the Service Dogs program joined UDS in 2000.
Okay, awesome. And how did each of you get started with UDS, with Service Dogs?
So I was a longtime volunteer. I started very young when I was volunteering, and then came on as a subcontractor. My family had a boarding grooming kennel my whole life, and my dad trained dogs, so I started learning there. And then continued learning as a volunteer. I have a bachelor's in psychology, and so I've been a part of the program for 20 plus years.
Awesome. And focusing specifically on the service dogs, the facility dog program, can you kind of describe what each of those entails?
So the service dogs are specially trained for one individual. Our program particularly serves clients with a variety of physical disabilities and children with autism. The dogs are trained to do physical tasks such as turning light switches on and off, retrieving of many items, anything from keys to wallets, even up to like a bottle of laundry detergent. We do work on heavier items. They also can tug doors, open and close, refrigerator doors, doors with handicap accessible, doors that have handles that are accessible, and they can tug clothing items on and off. We teach them a push command that can open and close doors. It can also do buttons, the accessible door buttons, and it just helps. All of these things help them live more independently. Our facility dogs are trained to support a facility. Mostly schools are what we've been working with, but we have worked with a few therapist offices. And the dog lives with one individual from the school, and several other handlers are trained that can work with the dog when they are at the facility. And they provide a variety of support to the students or clients of the therapist office as they overcome their difficulties with anxiety and other things.
Okay. And so with a facility dog, I mean, obviously it's kind of in the name. I mean, they're working with multiple people, whereas service dog, is that typically just an individual? I mean, they obviously may interact with family members or things like that, but is that one of the differences?
Yes, that's correct. The two main differences are the facility dog does serve a variety of people. They can service the whole facility. They also have different public access rights than the service dogs, so they only have public access within the facility that they're working.
Okay.
Service dog has public access in many of our common places like the mall and restaurants and anywhere the public can go.
Now, when you're saying public access, you're saying like where they're allowed to work and operate, I guess.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. And yeah, I mean, for the listeners, I had a chance to visit your new facility there, which, it's a beautiful facility that you guys have, and the training space that you have there, the space for the dogs to live. So it was really impressive to see all of the work that you guys put into it. And, you're able to specifically work with, with a service dog, you're sort of tailoring them to who they are going to help. Is that correct?
Yes, we spend a couple months once we've decided who the dog is going to go to. We've spent a couple months training them specifically for that person, imitating as many normal daily activities as we can that the dog would be doing. Yeah,
I imagine it just such a huge help for these individuals and the schools and different facilities in terms of, like you said, allowing them to live as independently as possible. Probably affects a lot in terms of like confidence and anxiety and just feeling like they're capable of doing those things with the help of that dog. So what are common myths, common struggles that you find surrounding just the whole topic of service and facility dogs?
Well, one of the common struggles that we have found is the wait time, and there's just no way around that. We wish it wasn't so long sometimes, but we've had clients that have had to wait up to 3 years. Other clients maybe less than a year. But we have got to do our job, and we want to support the best possible team. So we do not match like the next client on the list with the next dog that's ready. We look at the skills of the dog and then match it to the needs of our client.
And when you're saying wait time, you're saying the wait for them to receive the service dog to start working with them?
That is correct. From the time they're interviewed, like at our interview, we will let them know that the wait time can be up to 3 years. Now, we have done everything we can to position our program, bringing in more puppies and trying to bring good quality puppies in our program so that we have more dogs to go around. But again, there's no guarantee. And as recent as January, the national average went from 50% to 35% of dogs making it through the program, because it really is a very rigorous program.
Wow. That's a significant cut. Okay. We're kind of touching on it now. So what goes into somebody getting a service or facility dog? How do they do that?
Well, it starts with an application which they can download from our website. And once we receive the application, which includes, it is very extensive. It asks a lot of details, and it has a doctor's form, HIPAA form, medical form, and we want to make sure that we have as much detail as possible. Then once we receive it, our trainers will review the application, and if it looks like we're a good fit, then we'll bring the client in for an interview. And if during that interview we still are feeling confident that we can train a dog for their needs, then they go on our waiting list.
Okay. And then in terms of how do you come by the dogs?
We have been working with some breeders for several years. So that is where we currently have been getting the majority of our dogs. I also have started a breeding program for the organization that has contributed to a lot of our dogs in the last couple of years. But our most recent adventure has been to join a breeding cooperative within Assistance Dogs International. In January, we became a member of Assistance Dogs International. We had been at candidate status before that. And the candidate status is a 5-year process, so to become members. And so we were able to finish our membership we were accepted as members in January. We had our on-site interview in December. And part of Assistance Dogs International is a breeding cooperative that we were able to join once becoming members. So we recently started that, and we have one puppy from that group, and we'll be getting 2 more in the next month. So that's exciting for us. It's something new. It's a way of getting purpose-bred dogs and hopefully increasing our success rate.
Okay, awesome. Man, congratulations on working through that. Yeah, any certification like that takes a pretty hefty amount of work behind the scenes. So I imagine you guys are very thankful to be on the other side of that.
Yes, we are.
5 years is a long time.
Oh, yes. And in terms of the dog, so I've got my phone here, and I was checking your Instagram account for just the UDS Service Dogs. So you threw up a picture of, Trooper and Oliver and Micah and Woody. In terms of breeds, what do you find works best? What do you look for?
95% of our program is the Labrador Retriever. They're just kind of the tried and true breed for this avenue of work. And we do have several Labradoodles in training as well.
Okay.
They're really good for our clients with allergies that need the hypoallergenic. Mm-hmm. In the past, we've had some Golden Retrievers and some Standard Poodles, so we don't rule them out if we get an offer for one that we think might work. But most of our dogs are Labrador Retrievers.
Okay. And similar to the application, like if somebody has a dog, how do they get in touch with you to see if it's a good fit?
So we generally don't take dogs into our program that we don't know or that we didn't purchase ourselves.
Okay.
We do have a very small owner training program, but that is if the client is interested in doing that, then they need to come to our classes before they even get the dog, and they need to work with us when they're choosing the dog so that we can give them the best option at making it. A lot of the dogs that people just call us with are not great candidates for service dog work. So we want to work through the process with them to make sure that they are going to be as successful or given the most chance at success. We can't guarantee it, but we can try to help them have the most chance at success.
Okay. And kind of jumping back to some of the myths, what are myths that you guys I guess, find yourselves getting frustrated with in the public, their perception of what a service dog is or a facility dog versus what you know it to be?
Well, the emotional support dog, that is not the same as a service dog. And we're always getting calls from people saying they want public access for their emotional support dog. And the American with Disabilities Act does identify a service dog as being for one individual to help mitigate their disability. And it clearly states that a dog that provides comfort is not considered a service dog. And so that is challenging from time to time.
Sure, yeah. And I was going to ask about that because obviously in the last, at least 5 years, I would say that's blown up pretty huge, the emotional support animals. I think I heard of like even people having like peacocks and, just different off-the-wall animals as emotional support, quote unquote.
The ADA did edit it to just dogs and miniature horses recently.
Huh. Shetland ponies. Okay.
Yeah.
Dogs and Shetland ponies. Who knew? Okay.
They're actually most commonly used for guide work.
Okay.
Because of their lifespan, and actually they aren't that much bigger than a lab, so they're most commonly used for guide work.
And I know, Lori, you and I had talked some of the concerns with some of the service dogs of people confusing it for the emotional support. And I know you had talked about people like, I don't know if I would say against medical advice, but like just not even checking, they would like go off of their anti-anxiety med or antidepressant or something like that. They would kind of take it upon themselves to substitute the dog for, therapy or meds or things like that.
Yes, that has happened, unfortunately, in the past, and it's kind of a myth. People think a service dog is a cure, and really, when you think about it, a service dog is assistive technology. It's helping them manage their disability in another way, but they should never go off medication or stop going to a doctor or anything like that. We want a service dog to enhance their life. We don't want to take away from any part of their life, and they need to, continue the path that their doctor or their circle of support has provided for them.
Okay. And once a person or a facility receives a service dog or facility dog from you all, what's the process from there in terms of checking back in and continuing to follow up?
Yeah, so when they first get the dog, they go through 2 weeks of team training. That is working with a trainer, one-on-one usually, and learning how to work with that dog. Within about 30 days of placement, we administer what we call the public access test, which is a series of tasks that they have to complete to make sure that they are safe to be with that dog in public, and that certifies them as a team. And then that test is repeated annually. So it's the same test they do every year, and they have to do it annually too. And for the first year, they do reports that have to be turned in monthly, but they also have our cell phone numbers and email addresses, and they can contact us at any point for help. And that's throughout the life of the dog. It's not just for that first year or a certain amount of time. We will help them throughout the life of the dog.
Okay. And what are different trends you're seeing just in relation to the programs that you've been running and the dogs, the facilities? Yeah.
The facility dogs are becoming extremely popular. We get calls weekly about them. And we have found them to be a great avenue for our dogs to do. So I would say right now that is the big trend, is in this area especially, seems to be schools wanting a facility dog.
Sure. I mean, I can definitely see the draw. I mean, as especially schools and other workplace environments are learning about just alternative methods of stress relief, and they talk about schools teaching yoga and the meditation and mindfulness. I could see definitely, and especially for students that have needs like autism spectrum disorder or things like that. Yeah, I could see where that would be of interest to them. And off of that, yeah, what are some of the positives you've seen come out of your work? Give us some success stories.
Well, I remember receiving a call from a mother. It was the day after her son received his dog, and she was crying. And I was like, oh my goodness, what happened? What did the dog do? That was going through my mind. And she was just so thankful, and she just couldn't stop thanking us and crying because it was the first night that her son had slept through since he was born, because he had such a difficult childhood. And she said she walked into the bedroom and the dog was wrapped around her child and he was sleeping so peacefully, and that was the very first time that had ever happened. So that was kind of my first goosebumps and teary-eyed moment when I took over managing the program. So that's been almost 6 years. And, I see and hear those kinds of things all the time. This program does not lack in miracles.
Sure. Man. Yeah. Christy, any that you'd share?
Oh, man. There's quite a few of them. I really do enjoy the facility dog placements and the changes that their dogs are making in a variety of lives. I placed a dog back in January in a classroom, elementary age, K through 3 building, and his home base during the day is the emotional support classroom. Now he goes out to different areas throughout the day, but they said his first full day in that classroom, the times that the kids needed breaks went from, one particular kid went from 7 to 1 in just the first day that he was fully in that classroom.
Wow. So
they just see a culture change within the school when the dogs are present.
Yeah, and I, as a therapist, a lot of times I find myself saying, I work with clients that have had trauma and have anxiety, and that idea that animals have never hurt me. Like you have to train an animal to mistreat somebody, and unfortunately, people do it all the time. People hurt other people a lot, unfortunately. And so, yeah, a lot of people that just feel so much safer and calmer around animals. Clearly, the research, a lot of research has been done to show the positive effects of having a pet, being around animals. Just all the benefits to that. So. Yeah,
this same classroom, they have been kind of given they're in charge of Gideon. And so the sense of responsibility, even things simple as like opening his toys, and when he gets a new box of toys or something like that, they just get a sense of responsibility and pride in being able to take care of him and provide for him when he's at the school during the day.
You're listening to OTC episode 27 with Lori Brees and Christy Smith of United Disabilities Services Foundation. We'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor.
Would you like to talk to a counselor but can't find the time? Would you rather talk to someone from the comfort of your own home? If so, Parenting and Family Solutions is here to help. We now offer teletherapy to all clients who reside in the state of Pennsylvania. Using our secure portal, you can have a video session with your counselor using a laptop, desktop computer, or smartphone. Visit our website to learn more at www.parentfamilysolutions.com or give us a call at 717-602-5560 to see if teletherapy might be a good fit for you. Let us help you build a stronger family and a healthier you.
I know I didn't talk much about this when I visited you all, but in terms of a facility dog, let's say at a K through 3 or something like that, how do you deal with if a child does have fear, does get heightened anxiety because of the dog or is afraid of it? How do you work with that?
We do just keep the dog at a distance, allow them to have the time that they need to process with the dog being there. And most of the time, actually, I don't know that any of the time that they haven't eventually come around because they see their peers interacting with the dog and they're getting positive experiences, realizing that the dog is calm and not going to jump on them, not going to hurt them. So it does allow a lot of kids that do have fears with dogs or have had bad experiences with dogs have a positive experience and grow with that. So
awesome. Now you also, when I visited, you mentioned some prisons starting to use facility dogs. Is that correct?
Correct. So our program utilizes 2 prisons within the state of Pennsylvania for training our service dogs. And one of the dogs that had been trained at one of the prisons, his hips were not quite good enough to do full service dog work, and they approached us about a facility dog. And so he actually supports the staff because it's not exactly a great environment to work in. And so he supports the staff day in and day out with, his snuggles and they had already known him. They had watched him grow up, so they really enjoy. He lives with a staff member, goes down with her every night. He's part of her family, but he comes to work every day to support the staff.
Okay. Yeah. Again, I could see where it would be necessary and beneficial. And so, in terms of concerns or issues facing, those that require a service dog, I mean, I imagine you get kind of all over the map of different needs. Can you speak to any of those? Is it a lot of, autism spectrum disorder or wheelchair bound or,
So I do encourage people to, if they're thinking about service dogs, to get on the waiting list, especially even if they're early in their diagnosis, because you're right. Some people don't believe that they'll be strong enough or that they will even go out enough, or just different items that they encounter because of their disability. So I encourage them to get on the list while they are stronger and to get through the hard part of having a dog, which the first couple months can be very testing. The dog is still a dog, even though they've had lots of training, and they can still cause you anxiety and stress. Mm-hmm. And it takes a while to get over that hump. So that's my recommendation to those that are concerned whether they're a good candidate for a service dog or whether they're strong enough for a service dog. And we can always guide them in the right way. If we don't feel a full service dog is correct for them, then we will guide them we do have an in-home companion option. So if we feel like we can help them in a different way, we will guide them to that. Or if we just feel like our program can help them, but maybe another program can, we can guide them to that as well.
Sure. And are you able to just briefly touch on the in-home companion and how that differs?
Yeah, so the in-home companion, the basic difference is just public access. So they do not have the ability to take their dog out into the public. that the dog does the jobs for them just solely at home. And that would be for somebody that is pretty much at home, or maybe, is okay to be independent at home, but never leaves the house without help. So that's where they can differ.
I mean, do you find people stick to that public access certification? Because I know, like, I don't live far from the PetSmart and Home Depot in Lancaster.
Yeah, they still can take them to places where pets are allowed, but they don't have insurance coverage through us if they have an in-home companion. They don't have insurance coverage to be out in public. So that's, it's pretty clearly written that they're taking a risk if they go out into public. And there's usually a reason we're not letting that dog out in public. Most of it is probably fear. Mm-hmm. The dog is just not comfortable the day in and day out changes that a service dog has to, be okay with. So.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say I see a heck of a lot of animals in Home Depot and Whole Foods and.
Yeah, they can take them to pet friendly places.
All right. And I mean, I imagine there are those success stories where they have a dog for a time and then don't need it anymore. That they overcome whatever the physical or mental struggles are. And do they then return the dog, or how does that?
Most of the time, it'll become a pet. Mm-hmm. We have good friends of our program, and they had a child with autism, and the dog just came into their life at a critical moment. And for many years, the dog just helped the boy and changed his life. And then he became a young man, and the dog is now their pet. Mm-hmm. So he used his service dog for what he needed. And now he doesn't need the dog anymore. Now we do have a client with a disability, a physical disability, and her dog is becoming challenging to handle. So we're not sure. She may not be able to keep her dog. There may reach a point where she makes the decision to retire her dog or give up her dog. It's really, really a personal choice. But we're very happy to be there for them. We'll support them in their decision. If they want to rehome their dog, we'll help them. If they want to retire their dog, we'll make sure that they are making the right decision for their life. We really are there. Our clients are our family, and we want to help them in supporting their decisions.
Awesome.
Yes. To add to that, sometimes the care of the dog as they retire is more difficult for our clients that have physical disabilities, so they may choose to retire them to somebody that can just help care for them. Most of them want to keep their dog the entire time because they have family support that will help them. And by that time, the dog is so much part of the family that it's hard to imagine them not being there. But then other ones make the choice that to do what's best for their dog in that time, and that's to let them be with somebody who can care for them better as they age.
Okay. The other concern of, I know obviously on the heartbreaking end of where, a dog's lifespan is not the same as a human's, unfortunately. I don't know who's responsible for that decision, but it always seems so cruel. Can you speak to when you have to navigate that and a dog's health failing or passing away or things like that?
So when the client has decided to retire their dog, and if they decide to keep their dog, it is ultimately their decision when it's time for the dog to go. But we're there to support them. Some clients will choose to get another dog in their dog's retirement to help them so that they don't have to be without a service dog. Some will choose to wait until their service dog goes and then get back on our list. And some say that's just too hard and I can't do that again. So through all of it, it's just supporting them and giving them what they need. And our clients that do decide to get another dog do go to the top of our list because they are so used to having a service dog that it's very hard for them to be without one. And so we do. It doesn't mean that the next dog available will still be theirs. It would still be the next right dog for them. But it does allow them to hopefully not have too much of a lapse between the two dogs. And the second one can sometimes be harder. Actually, a lot of times it's harder because
Sure.
they have the perception of their first dog.
Yeah.
And they've worked so hard to mesh with their first dog, and now they have a new personality and a new dog to learn.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think families and people in general run into that when a pet passes away, and then if they get another pet after that, yeah, a lot of times you're comparing it.
Yep.
Well, what are some other projects that you guys are working on for the rest of 2019? Any other things you guys have in the works?
Well, right now we are going to start a new partnership with Miller's Ale House. They are in Lancaster near the new Wegmans, and they met one of our ambassador dogs, Nova, and just loved her and would like to do something. So we're doing a fundraising initiative on July 22nd, a give back night. And if you come out there and provide a flyer that we have created, then our program will receive a percentage of the sales.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then we hope later in the summer we may sponsor a tap.
Okay.
That will also benefit our program. I know, right?
Do the dogs get any of this? They don't.
No drinking for the dog. We are also partnering with York Revolution, the baseball team, and we're going to do a Take Me Out to the Ball Game night on September 21st. And a percentage of ticket sales will benefit the Service Dogs program. So those are just a few for the rest of this year that come to mind.
Awesome. Okay. And then any major things on the horizon, other certifications, or like years down the road, or things like that?
We don't have to do our recertification for 5 years, so we're
You get a bit of a break
right now.
Yes, a much needed and much earned break.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
But what we are doing is attending conferences and seminars and taking classes when necessary to continue learning and to be the best and reputable program that we can be.
Awesome. Yeah, obviously the continuing ed, the training is so vital. And now, in terms of, I've seen different events that you guys have had tables at. The ones that I've seen have been at the Hershey Bears games. And then, are there others that you'll have as well? I know you mentioned the York Revolution, but do you go to the Barnstormers or the Heat or any of the other stuff?
We haven't done any of the other. Hershey Bears has always been our big one. We've been a part of them for 15 years. But we also do other fundraisers. They're usually in the spring. We do a bingo, and that's in April. And then we're doing a 5K in next June. So those are our fundraisers that we put on ourselves to help our program.
Okay, awesome. Well, any other topics that we didn't hit, or yeah?
Well, John, I think it's important if I can just briefly say something about the cost.
Sure.
Just so people that are listening or, family members, that there's a little bit of information out there about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the our program invests $25,000 for each of our dogs over the first 2 years. Now, granted, a large portion of that is in training, which we understand we'll never be able to get back. And we do have to ask our client to pay a fee for their service dog. It's $5,000. And, we let them know that the day we interview them. And we encourage them to fundraise. We even give them ideas. If it's a child 17 and under, then we have sponsorship opportunities. And we give people plenty of time to fundraise. And then once they get their dog, again, we work with them on payment plans. So a person literally can have almost 3 years to save the money for their dog. Our facility dogs cost $3,000, and we're just not in a position to give our dogs away. We are a mission-based program, and we lose $200,000 a year. That's a lot of money.
Yes. That is no small chunk of change.
Correct. That's why we depend on, the public and our friends and fundraisers to try to help us sustain operations.
Wow. Okay. No, I think that's very important for people to be aware of. I mean, sure, in an ideal world,
Yes.
the dogs wouldn't be needed, and B, you'd be able to give them away for free. So,
right.
But, yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, and any other things that you think we need to cover?
Well, I would like to thank our puppy sponsors. When we started the puppies in prison programs, we reached out to some of our friends and businesses in the area, and they just embraced sponsoring puppies that were going to prison. Our dear friends at Keller Brothers Ford, family of dealerships in Lidditz and Lebanon, Johnson & Johnson, Primitives by Kathy, Porsche Club of America. Those are just to name a few. Woodstream. I mean, these are local businesses that are, believe in our mission and believe in our program. And they're saying, hey, we want to help you sponsor a puppy. And then they get to help name the puppy. So that's pretty cool. But without their support, they're helping us to sustain our operations.
Sure, definitely. Yeah. And so in terms of your guys' presence on, the internet and social media, if people have questions or want to follow UDS Service Dogs, where do they do that? I don't know if you can give the different handles.
So UDS Foundation has a Facebook page, and we do post a lot of service dog items on there. And then the service dog program itself has an Instagram, UDS Service Dogs. So that is more individualized to the service dog program. So those are our presence on social media. We also have our website, which is actually being redone soon, but there should be a lot of good information on there as they update it. And those two social media options also will give updates on our fundraising opportunities. Sometimes we don't know what's going to pop up or what's going to land in our lap. And when those come about, we just post them.
Mm-hmm. And so the URL for the main UDS Foundation, that's just the udservices.org, right?
Yes, and then they just want to click on the service dog page from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And if people have specific questions, are they able to get in touch with either of you to run those by?
Yeah, there's a form on the website that allows them to fill it out, and they'll be sent to us.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all so much for your time. Just I know it was a bit of a hassle to get everybody's schedules together and get everything working. But I again, when I met with you guys, I knew the program that you guys talked about and all the work that I saw you all putting into it. I was like, okay, I need to have you guys on so that we can get the word out there about what you guys are doing and UDS. So just so appreciative of the work that you're doing to help different individuals and facilities. It's just so amazing and so needed.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your patience and trying to pull all this together. And then again, your patience in trying to get this up today, and giving us the opportunity to talk to your listeners.
Yeah, sure. Not a problem.
And if you need anything else, we can certainly answer it.
Again, it's just so amazing to see the physical and emotional impact that these service dogs have in the lives of the people that they are placed with. It's just so awesome to see how they can impact an individual, whether that's a child or an adult, but inmates, school classrooms, and again, I just highly recommend that you go to their website and check out what they're doing in the community. If you feel led to donate or get involved, I mean, it will change your life, truly. I just want to sign off by thanking you again for stopping by and listening to the episode, but I'll leave you all with the story of Dylan and the impact that his service dog has had on his entire family.
Dylan is my sweet boy. He is my heart. He was much more talkative than his brother had been at a young age. And then it stopped. He lost the words and stopped looking at us and kind of completely regressed into his own world. It's unexpected. I just thought, what would things be for him and for his siblings? And it was like someone kicked me in the heart, My heart was broken. I kind of went to work, finding therapists, reading books, connecting with other parents. There was no time to cry anymore. I saw a segment on a news show about a service dog company providing a dog for a child with autism. And I started kind of looking into what that could do for Dylan. I just thought that it would give him some things that he needed to do that he would feel really good about. We would go to UDS and see different dogs with Dylan to just see, what the interaction was like. When Raider came out, he could not keep his eyes off Dylan. And Dylan was smiling at him, but Raider couldn't stop following him. It was amazing.
Raider is a sweet boy. He was raised in our Barks Pups in Prison program. It's an amazing process where these inmates wanted a reason to give back to society, and it's changing what is happening behind the wire fence. They know that that dog is going to go on and do something really important, and it leaves an imprint on their life.
The dog gives him responsibility, gives him a friend, gives him a sense of comfort, and as a bonus, does it for me as well. Raider jumps up on his bed and lays with him, and, Dylan flips through books or whatever, and Raider lays there. He keeps him calm in the middle of the night. He knows that Dylan's the one that feeds him, and Dylan's the one that generally gives him his treats. People with autism have a lot of trouble with communications, not just talking, but just, being social. And I think that it's a friend for Dylan. It's a pal. It's someone that's by his side following him around, and Dylan gets such a big smile on his face. It's been a beautiful thing. We waited a long time, and it was well worth the wait. Well worth the wait. He loves every single family member and makes Dylan part of us, which he really wasn't before. He really very much in his own world, and now he's just watching everything that the dog does or anything that one of us does with the dog, and he's laughing and he's engaged with us, which is something that we didn't have before, and if we didn't have Raider, we wouldn't have. Raider keeps us all together.
In OTC episode 28, I will be speaking about art therapy with Raina Lombardi, the owner and founder of Florida Art Therapy Services. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe and review wherever you're catching this podcast at. You can check out detailed show notes and archived episodes at www.pfsonthecouch.com. If you want to stay up to date on future guests and contribute questions, be sure to follow us on your favorite social media platforms. The author and host of this podcast is not engaged in a therapeutic relationship with the listener and cannot give counseling advice without a confidential appointment. Listeners should be sure to consult with a licensed therapist in their area or seek emergency medical attention if they are experiencing psychological difficulty. A special thanks to the band The Topsy-Turvies for the show theme song. Their song, Like a Living Dead, can be found at topsyturvies.bandcamp.com. The bump interview track was the song 1973 by Bruno E. The author and host of this podcast is John Dennis. Special thanks to editor and show producer Trevor Groff.